Hello everyone, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today I'm going to be taking a look at a brand new game which comes out today called Check Your Six. It's being developed by Moonlit and the Lordz Games Studios. It's being published by Slitherine. I'm not sure if they're publishing it through their Matrix Games brand as well, or if it's just through Slitherine. But it's a new tactical turn-based air combat game which is out today. I believe it's available on Steam. It's definitely available through the company's websites. And it is a board game conversion of Check Your Six, which has been apparently made into a computer game a couple of different times. To me, the computer game comparison would be something like Octung Spitfire, which is a little bit older, but that seems to be sort of the nearest inspiration in terms of a PC version. Now, this is the general menu screen you can see here. You've got sort of options to play as either single player or multiplayer. I will say the multiplayer aspect is intriguing to me, and it fits obviously with sort of the board game mantra. The single player is going to be what I'm going to be taking a look at today. The game does provide some game rules, which are just sort of explaining how the game works and whatnot, which we'll get into as we play. The hangar, which allows you to sort of cycle through multiple different aircraft, get a little bit of history, get a little bit of aircraft statistics in the right over here. This was something that I really enjoyed about, again, sort of that old classic Octung Spitfire, where you could scroll through all the different aircraft that were in the game, and it gave you valuable information that you would want to know about an aircraft when it comes to using it in the game. And in this particular game, it does the same sort of a thing. It gives you a little bit of history, as it calls trivia here on the left, and gives you the aircraft statistics on the right, with the aircraft itself on a rotating table that you can drag around and kind of change. Well, you can't really go, I think you can go up and down, but you can certainly drag around in circles. Okay, so if we move back to the main menu here, we're going to go ahead and you've got the multiplayer option, but given the game is, I'm actually recording it shortly before it comes out, I don't really have anyone that I'm aware of that I can play with it online right now. So we're going to jump into the single player. Now, the single player is, I don't know if this is because I'm playing a pre-release version or if this is just the way the game is designed. Seems a little bit weird because when you click single player, you've got two options. Well, three options, really. You've got the tutorial, which is incredibly basic, and I'm not actually going to show here because, frankly, I don't think the tutorial provides a lot of value. You've got the load game screen, and you've got the campaign screen. The tutorial really just kind of, to me, seems to show you here's what the different things on the screen in front of you mean, and here's how you turn, and here's how you shoot. It really doesn't go very much into anything beyond very basic gameplay sort of instructions, and when I played the game for the first time, after playing the tutorial, I still was struggling to figure out how some of the things worked. For example, I may have touched on it in the tutorial, but I didn't think it did a great job of explaining on how you move up in terms of speed or altitude or things like that. But we can jump into that here a little bit if we click on the campaign. Now, if we click on the campaign, you can see here it's got an Allied campaign progress and an Axis campaign progress. All the missions are the same from both sides. So, for example, I've played Jolly Good Show as the British, and we won the battle as the British. You can see here the objectives for the Germans we haven't accomplished yet. I played through it once and failed. So you've kind of got the two objectives side by side of the two different countries, and every single mission is playable from both sides, which makes sense from a board game perspective, because if you've got a board game and you're playing against other human opponents, then presumably you can play as both sides in the game. In today's video, we're going to be playing the Impossible mission. It's mission 2 out of what I believe is roughly 20 scenarios here that you can play through. The scenarios lead you up to 1941, I believe, is when the last scenario takes place, and the aircraft hangar certainly indicates that this is more of a 1940, 1941 time period in some fighting in France and also the Battle of Britain. With that being said, it feels a little bit Field of Glory-esque, where I wouldn't be surprised if they add a bunch of DLCs that carry you through the rest of the war, add things like the Americans, the Allied bombing campaign against the Germans. I think that would be an interesting expansion. The other piece also, when we go into the campaign, the fact that it kind of has the Battle of Britain, the way it's portrayed here makes me feel like, oh, you could have another campaign here and add that side by side, but that's just me, supposing what might occur, not necessarily what will occur. With that being said, I don't know if campaign is the right way to phrase it. It's really just a string of missions. They're not linked in any way. They're all independent scenarios. So, you know, unless I'm missing something where you go through all of them and beat it and then there's something completely new that pops up, it doesn't seem to me very much like a campaign. The other thing is, and this is sort of, this isn't meant as a criticism of the game, because the game is what it is, but I think as far as what I was hoping to get out of the game, I was a little bit disappointed that there's really no progression of your aircraft or of your crews, because these are all sort of self-contained scenarios and battles that you fight. There's no, you know, I don't get to know my crew members. I don't get to see my crew fly their first mission, their second mission, their third mission. I don't get to see them go from a new pilot to becoming an ace, to becoming a grizzled veteran, to you know, gaining traits and experience and things like that. And that's one of the things, and I know it's not based on Octung Spitfire, because again, it's a board game conversion, and it makes sense as a board game conversion. You'd lack some of that sort of carryoverness that you would hope from in a lot of games. But the one thing that really kind of, to me, felt like causes the game to lose a little bit of heart is this sort of lack of connection with your crews. There's really, in my mind, no reason not to just have your whole air fleet get slaughtered if it means you can accomplish the objective, because who cares if my pilots die? They don't have a name. There's no real impact to losing them all. There's no crew management or anything like that. And again, it's a series of self-contained scenarios, so that's fine. But it was a little bit disappointing for me because that's what I was hoping to get out of the game, and wasn't how the game was designed. Again, the game wasn't trying to do that. So I try to avoid critiquing a game in a way where I'm saying I wish the game was something that it was not. Right? Like, I wish the game designer designed a different game. So I don't know how fair that criticism is, but it was, you know, it does to me cause the game to lack a little bit of heart and sort of that emotional connection with your crew and your pilots, when it's just a series of campaign or battles that are all kind of unlinked and in their own little vacuum of space. Now, that does mean that the game is more well-suited, I think, to multiplayer, and I may play that now that the game is out with some people and see how that all plays out. But the sort of self-contained scenario setup works better in a multiplayer world than a campaign progression setup. With that being said, it's enough of me talking, so let's go ahead and jump into the impossible mission. The description is, as the Blitzkrieg rages on, so this is early May 1940, the German assault on France has begun. The Allies realize that the Axis advance must be slowed to allow time to regroup and launch a counterattack. In an attempt to disrupt the supply line through the Low Countries, the RAF targeted Verohaven and Velvet's bridges across the Albert Canal near Maastricht. On May 12, 1940, volunteer ferry battle crews from No. 12 Squadron began a desperate mission to drop the bridges. Hurricanes from No. 1 Squadron escorted the vulnerable battles. Due to their strategic value, the bridges were rigged with hundreds of mobile anti-aircraft batteries. Okay, so again, the other thing is with these scenarios, there's a nice little bit of historical description on each one of these. I think these are all based on real-life battles, so that's going to be kind of interesting. So we'll go ahead and hit play here. You can see when you hit play on an individual battle, you get a breakdown of the forces that are involved. You have the option to choose between playing as the Germans or playing as the British. And you have some conditions over here provided on the right. Weather conditions. I assume cab is cloud cover. Surface low cab. I'm not sure what that means. Table clouds, none. So there's no clouds. Cloud border, top. Scenario rules: the British battles may not climb beyond Tal 4 and carry a light bomb load. German aircraft enter in 3 groups of 2 aircraft, rolled DB6 for each group on an enter. I don't know what this means. This is kind of board game rules, I'm assuming carried directly over from the board game. And the bridge is within 10 hexes of the board edge 4 and is defended by 2 light AA batteries. It is a standard target that is damaged with 1 hit and destroyed with 2 hits, so we have to hit the actual bridge twice in order to win. The Allies, mechanics problem: remove 1 battle with green aircrew from this scenario. The Axis, new pilot replaces a BF-109 skilled +1 aircrew with green +0. So again, these rules feel like they were pulled directly from a board game. So interesting, adds a little bit of character to it. If we take a look over here on the left, we can see here the British. We have 2 battles which are more, I think, experienced or flight leads. We have 3 battles minus 1, so I guess we've got a total of 4 battles, and then 6 Hurricanes as escorts. The Germans are going to be intercepting with 6 Bf-109Es, and they have 2 light AA batteries in support. So we'll go ahead and start the battle here, and you can see the loading screen, and we'll get into the sort of assignment screen where we put our aircraft on the map. So you can see here, this is the deployment phase, the unit placement phase, turn 1, aircraft placement segment. All of our aircraft are already on the map. Their altitude is represented by these little dots here below them, which represents how far there is between them and the ground. You can also click, well, you can't click on an aircraft right now to see the altitude, but you will be able to see the altitude once we get into the actual battle here. So this particular scenario, our objective is to destroy this bridge, and I think the best way to do that, in my opinion, is going to be to take all of our battles and kind of line them up and attack from one direction. And maybe that's a foolhardy way, which will lead me to be more, I don't know, easily countered by the Germans. The other option is to attack from multiple directions so the Germans can't just line up on you and mow you down. I like the idea of attacking in one formation. So you can see here we've got the 2 aircraft that we're lining up everybody here in a formation, and then we'll line up our escorts on either end to help protect them. So there's 3. There's the 4th aircraft. We'll go here. So we're going to come in a little bit north of the bridges. So you can see this one's lining up perfectly on the bridge. The other 3 are going to line up a little bit north. And we've got one more battle here, which is coming in over here. Use this little arrow to turn the direction that it's facing. And that's all of the battles. We then have the Hurricanes, which we're going to go ahead and line up as well. We're going to put some Hurricanes on the left flank, if you will, of the battles. Kind of advance them a little bit ahead of the battles. Not that far ahead of the battles. And that was 2. We'll go ahead and set over here on the left. Again, we're going to kind of sweep out ahead. Maybe 3 Hurricanes on each flank. And you can also... So you can stack aircraft in the same hex, which also gives you sort of the option, if there's a bad guy, to try and ram the enemy aircraft rather than shoot them down. All right, so we've got 3 Hurricanes to the north, 3 Hurricanes to the south, and we've got the 4 battles in the middle. So I think that does it for our deployment phase, if you will. Yep, everybody's been deployed, so we'll go ahead and hit the end turn button to end our placement. So we can see here on the map that there are German aircraft kind of all over. We've got some 4 aircraft in the northern half of the map, and we've got 2 aircraft more here in the southern half of the map. Our battles are coming in at lower altitude. You can see here that they're at altitude 3. I believe the game said their max altitude is 4 under these rules. And they're coming in at speed 2. So things over here on the left that are important: your altitude, your speed, your skill, agility, and robustness. So your skill of these battle crew members is 1. Actually, some of them are 0. The robustness of the aircraft is 1. Not very robust. Oh, I didn't have it facing the wrong direction. And then your agility, which, again, for the battles, these are dive bombers, kind of crappy dive bombers. So they're not going to be very agile. If we look at the Hurricanes, they're all making higher altitude. They're at level 5, speed 3, so they're moving faster, and they are higher up. It's kind of just the general layout here. You also get a breakdown of your crew's weapons. So the Hurricanes all have machine guns, 8 light machine guns pointed forward. The battles have 1 BFF light machine gun pointed forward, and 1 rear-mounted, I assume manually traversed, machine gun pointing aft. Kind of reminds me of something like an Avenger or a Dauntless, or that kind of a dive bomber here. We can see here all of our fighters, I believe, are coming at level 5 in terms of their altitude. So they've got a little bit of an altitude advantage, which is nice. If the enemy comes in below you, you can dive down on them. You can fire down on them and get a better angle on your shot, which we may end up seeing or addressing as this scenario progresses onward. Okay, so time to issue our initial orders. It's movement phase for this battle. Let's go ahead to our battle, to our fairy battle 3s. You can see here over on the right, we've got the stick, which allows us to kind of give orders to have them turn around, turn right, turn left. You can see how those orders are represented on the map in terms of what happens. One thing worth mentioning is, and I think this is one of the game's strengths, is that as you turn, you use power. So you can potentially shift a little bit to the right or a little bit to the left and not sacrifice any of your speed here. But if we look on the right here, we've got this altitude controller and we've got a speed controller. So right now we're moving at 2 speed, and we are not trying to speed up or slow down. We're not trying to increase our altitude or decrease it. If I do a slight turn, that all stays the same. If I go a little bit further over, what can actually happen is you can see that you're going to lose speed at certain types of turns. And this is a bad example because it doesn't appear like our battles are going fast enough to happen. But if we go over here, for example, if we try and bank our Hawk or Hurricane really steeply and turn them all the way over here to the right, you can see this automatically moves to a -1 speed. So you're going to bleed speed for maneuverability. And you can manually drag up or down your own speed calculator. Ending speed 0, you'd crash or stall out. But certain maneuvers are going to cause you to bleed speed. Now, you also can't exactly just increase speed while you're turning. So it does make you make some sort of trade-offs when it comes to managing your power as well as your maneuverability, which I think is a really positive trait in this game, in this turn-based game, is kind of forcing you to be conscious of what sacrifices you're making. If you're going to be more maneuverable, it's going to cost you speed, and if you're going too slow, then you may not actually be able to make certain maneuvers or turns or whatnot because you can't increase your speed, or you're losing too much speed so that you're going to stall out. So that's, I think, a really intriguing, well-executed piece of the combat mechanics. Now, I do think that the game, and again, we're just kind of getting started here, lacks some of the charisma that I would hope from like a dogfighting game. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of turning engagements. It feels like there's a lot of more sort of straight on, run past them, gun them down, turn and come behind them. But it doesn't feel like there's a ton of actual maneuvering or swirling to the dogfights, as I guess I would hope. It's more or less just fly straight at him and then swing in behind him and shoot at him, which that piece feels like it's sort of missing what it should have from a dogfighting game perspective. But this whole concept of speed versus maneuverability, I think, is very well executed. So you can see here, I'm turning a 1 Hawker, which I set up poorly. These other 2 guys, I'm actually going to go ahead and increase speed for them. And then we can see here, right now we can turn anywhere on this throttle or on this stick. We can do any of these little circular dots, or are a sort of option in terms of where you're going to turn or whatnot. As we lose speed or as we gain speed, these may fill in red, which basically indicates, listen, for whatever reason, you can't make that maneuver right now. Even if you move your stick there, nothing's going to happen, or you're not going to turn as much as you would like. So we'll probably address that after the first turn. So we'll go ahead and we can see we're increasing our speed on these Hurricanes to the north by 1. I want to get up out in front of our bombers to try and engage the German fighters and pick them off ahead of our bombers so that our bombers can more easily hit the target. Additionally, our bombers are all also going to increase speed by 1 so that we can close on the bridge more quickly. I believe the speed is represented by how many hexes you cover in an individual turn. You can see, I believe this little green thing represents where we're going to move, and then the red represents where we can actually shoot. But I'm going to go ahead and speed everybody up so they can get to the bridge faster, so that hopefully we can destroy them. Now we have to hit the bridge twice to destroy it. We've got 5 bombers, so we can lose up to 3 and still potentially destroy the bridge. But that assumes every bomber hits their target. And you do run out of ammo in this game. You can see here there's a little low ordnance load icon back here, which means the aircraft does have bombs on it, but you can only attack a bridge once. So we've got a buffer of 3, assuming 100% hit percentages. That likely won't happen, so we need to be mindful and not lose too many aircraft. So we've issued all the orders. We'll go ahead and hit go. And then the movement phase, pilot reaction. There's a reaction phase, which I don't fully understand, but it is what it is, I guess. There's nothing for me to do in this phase. So you can see here as we move, These aircraft are flying toward their targets, and the German aircraft are also sort of closing in, although we didn't get any kind of separate call out for them in that particular movement phase. There's another pilot reaction phase for one of our aircraft here in the south. Again, I'm not going to change anything, so we'll just kind of let these aircraft fly forward. And I assume the German... Yep, okay, so we can see the Germans are flying in here as well. And that does it for the turn. So we've got the two fighters out front here. This Hurricane is a little bit slower because we had to kind of turn it into position. And these other guys are all kind of at top speed now. So these are all moving at speed 4, which appears to be the max speed for the Hurricane. And you can see we can't increase their speed anymore. Now, what we could do is we could dive. And if we dive, you can gain speed as well. Now, again, I think the Hurricane's max speed is 4, because even if we dive, it doesn't let us speed up anymore. So if we climb, on the other hand, if we were to go +2, you can see we'll lose 3 speed if we pull up abruptly. So that's, I guess, worth being considered, that as you increase or decrease your altitude, that also has a relationship with your speed. Our Fairly battles also appear to be at their max speed and are closing in on the bridge. Again, nothing to do here this turn. No one's in range of anything. Nothing's really happening yet. So we'll just kind of leave things as they are and kind of progress one more turn. Reaction phase, I'm not doing anything different. So movement segment number 1, those aircraft to the north are moving. Now we've got a movement segment for the aircraft in the south. I don't have to hit turn for every one of those to go through every pilot reaction phase, but it is what it is. You can see here some BF-109s are coming into range, and enemy anti-aircraft have started firing on our Hurricanes to the north of the bridge. They did miss. You got sort of a turn roll piece up here on the top that told us the result of that combat, and now we've got these aircraft moving in. I'm probably going to have to turn around to get behind these 109s, but I don't know where they're all going to end up. I'm not really sure. So I think we're just going to continue moving one more turn. Aircraft to the north are moving. And aircraft to the south are moving. And the Germans just swung right between us, going straight for the bombers. Anti-aircraft firing and missing. BF-109 is taking a long-range shot and hit that Fairly battle bomber in the engine and shot it down. Good Lord. That was disastrous. We already lost an aircraft. And that's a pretty long-range shot for him to be that effective. He is lower than us altitude-wise. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to go ahead and dive down 2, and then I'm going to turn and try and get around on this German. So we're not losing any speed because we're diving. If we were flying level, we'd lose 2 speed with this maneuver, but because we're diving down 2 to get down to his altitude and get behind him, we're not going to lose any speed, which will be useful in this fight, I think. So we're going to get 2 aircraft to try and come in around him, and then our 3rd aircraft, I'm going to keep at my current height and try and turn in around this, or turn in behind this one on. Actually, I'm going to dive as well because he's 2 below us. So that way I'll maintain my speed and start to get around on him as well. In the north, I'm going to go ahead and have these 2 Hurricanes start to turn toward the Germans. We'll see if they can do it more gradually. We're going to lose 1 speed. They're all lower than us, though. They're all on level 1. You can only shoot, I believe, up to 1 altitude different than your own. So I think we'll go ahead and have both of these guys turn in. As well as this aircraft here. Well, no, we'll have him kind of go a little bit more straight, maintain his altitude. These other 2 Hurricanes are both going to dive and dive 1, so they'll still have a height advantage on the German aircraft coming in, and then they'll kind of turn in on these aircraft. So we'll go ahead and execute those maneuvers. We'll continue flying our battles forward. I do think we're going to shift all of these guys to the right a little bit to get them more lined up with the bridge target. I believe we've already lost one of our air. Man, that sucks. All right, so I can apparently only issue 2 of those bombers' orders during the reaction phase. You can see here our aircraft are turning and diving up in the north. And in the south, they've got a reaction phase as well, but they've already had their orders issued, so we'll just kind of keep them coming around. German aircraft streaked right by ours, so I don't imagine he'll be able to shoot at anything. Oh, god damn it! Any aircraft just hit one of those barely battle bombers in its engine with anti-aircraft fire. You can see here we can now engage these German aircraft. Because of the angle and the speed that they're all coming over, we don't have a very good chance of success. Only an 8% chance for this guy to hit, a 0% chance for this guy to hit. So I'm not actually going to have this second aircraft fire if there's a 0% chance that he can hit anything. And these guys, no one else is in range of anything. So we've got one aircraft that's going to engage or try and engage the German. You can see he'll shoot. There's a die roll and he missed. The German Bf-109 here on the south just hit the airframe of the battle, and that one's going to crash. And this is just going splendidly awful. All right, we're going to go ahead and dive one more to keep our speed up for these aircraft in the north. I'm kind of exposing the rear of my own aircraft. Oh, that's risky. All right, in the north, those guys are all doing that. We've lost 2 bombers and another one's damaged. We can lose a total of 1 more before we can lose 1 more if everybody hits their targets, I guess, is more what I mean. All right, so these guys are going to try and streak in behind. German aircraft have apparently perfect accuracy. Try and get behind him. We're still at we're at altitude 3, so we're at the same altitude as the German. So we're going to lose 2 speed to pull this maneuver off. So he's probably going to get another shot in. Meanwhile, these bombers to the north, they're going to start shifting south. I think they're probably 2 turns away from being able to bomb the bridge. So aircraft are swinging around, trying to get behind the Germans. Another one of these are coming straight on ahead. I can't turn. I don't have enough time to react. Alright, so I can't do anything else there. They're swinging in behind, hopefully to try and get a shot on these 109s. Fuel tank explodes. Debris. Possible ordnance explosion. So we just lost another aircraft. And another... What the fuck is happening? I think we just lost the battle. Did we just lose 2 more of those battles? Or did we... Was one of those a Hurricane? Hurricane was destroyed. What the... So I think... The battle bomber exploded, and it was so close to that Hurricane that the debris hit it and destroyed it as well? I think? I'm not really sure. That was kind of a weird outcome. I played this battle before. I hadn't seen that as an outcome. 0, 8. So at least our aircraft can start to shoot. Alright, so there's going to be a lot of shooting going on. Miss. 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 Everybody misses. The British can't shoot, apparently. Except, of course, the German 109s. Those things just hit every frickin' time. Ugh. Well, we just lost, I think, unless that was a Hurricane. So we're getting picked off here. Pretty disastrously, actually. Alright. Oh. These guys are still making their speed of 3. These guys are going to turn in a little bit. Only making 1 speed. Crew panics. Heavy fire fades. Alright, so one of our battles is going to execute a surface attack. It's got a level skill 1. You can see he'll go down and attack, and he damages the bridge. So we got one hit on the bridge from one of our 2 remaining battles. Our other battle has we have one more battle with bombs, so this one guy has got to survive a couple more turns because he's moving so slowly to get to the bridge and damage it, I think. Or is this? Yeah. So we'll see how this all plays out. But Germans are sweeping in. Our craft are falling like flies. He's coming in right behind us. And apparently none of our aircraft are in... Oh, no, we can. So we can shoot. Yeah. Only 2 of our aircraft can shoot. Meanwhile, our battle that I think needs to survive is... Hey, we hit it. We damaged it. Didn't hit any particular part of the aircraft, but we did damage it. Now you can see the Germans are all shooting in on our aircraft, which they're all behind. I've got horrible tactical dispositions here. Don't crash. Alright, so this battle's the one out of ordnance. This battle is crews panicking and is not in great shape. Only making 1 speed. So I think we're still a couple turns away, given the current speed, if we even survive, to being able to do anything. Go ahead and turn this way. Need to increase speed to close the gap, but I don't think I'll be able to do that. This Hurricane needs to bank. He's at altitude 4, so he's got 1 to give. We'll do that to maintain some speed. And this battle's more or less just done. So they're not panicking anymore. They gained that trait back. Germans are closing in on this remaining aircraft. Reaction segment. More 109s. Everybody's kind of converging on the bridge here. Anti-aircraft's going to fire. Miss, which is fine. Usually anti-aircraft in this scenario isn't terribly damaging. 3%, 8%, 8. So the challenge here is, like, we've got really close ranges on these German aircraft, but the problem is the angles that they're all coming in on are very difficult to actually do anything with. You'd prefer to be kind of eyesight behind the enemy, get your best chance at hurting them. I don't know if shooting at someone lessens their accuracy or not. You can see here, shot and hit something. I don't know if we shot our own aircraft. Oh my goodness, all these aircraft are gonna crash. Someone's getting... Alright, so that was... 3 of our aircraft all just crashed. Game over, we lose. Alright, well, I'm not very good at this game, but you can obviously see that it is a tactical-based disaster. Let's butcher our crews. Again, but because I don't know who my crews are, I don't really care. Other than the fact that I lose the battle, which is not great. But yeah, that's Check Your 6. I will say a challenging tactical air combat game, a turn-based air combat game. Interesting, enjoyable, a fairly robust number of scenarios to play through, but they don't take that long, at least when you fail like I did pretty quickly. Some of these more basic scenarios can go pretty quick. I will say it lacks some of the charm that I had hoped to see. Again, I'm really kind of getting hung up on this lack of connection with my crew or my squadron. I don't see any progression battle to battle because even though it's called a campaign, they're really sort of standalone scenarios, so there really is no campaign in that sense. So there's no connection with my air crew, there's no connection with my units, there's just sort of individual challenges that you're presented with that you have to overcome with a little bit of historical background. They seem to be based on real scenarios, so that's pretty cool. I really like the relationship between speed and maneuver, or speed and altitude, just the way that power is an absolutely critical factor to dogfights. I feel like a lot of games that look at air combat kind of gloss over that or imply it, but don't really communicate that to you terribly effectively. And I think, power is at the end of the day, power is everything in a dogfight. The ability to maneuver, the ability to close, to escape, it is absolutely central to a dogfight. And I think we often think of dogfights too much as in maneuver and less in terms of power. So I really do like that application. I do think the altitude, outside of its relationship with your speed, is it feels a little bit light in terms of actually making air combat feel like air combat. The angles having an impact on your ability to accurately target an enemy, great. But I just don't get a sense of like turning engagements, or really, it's very streaky. You swing in, hit the enemy, fly by, maybe turn coming behind him, but there's no real turning dogfights. At least to this point, I haven't really felt that swirl of a dogfight. And I've played a couple of different missions as well, but I haven't really felt that yet. And I guess I would have liked to. But with that being said, overall, it's an interesting game. I think I'll probably play it a little bit more on the channel. It's not super action-packed, but it's a challenging game to overcome, and I think something worthwhile playing. And I also think that I'm going to go ahead and see about maybe a multiplayer game, maybe with Agrippa Maxenius or someone else to share on the channel as well. With that being said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm going to go ahead and step out, and until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching. This was Check Your 6, out today by the Lordz Games Studios in Moonlight and published by Slitherine. It's available on Steam as well as Slytherine's websites. And until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching, and I'm out.